After saying 20 to 20, I will be over. No, this is actually taken by a natural guy. I was just telling him I forgot to put the this is taken by natural guy. Steve with amazing pictures. So he started this thing was years ago. That's it.
Yeah.
That's very important. After that, a lot of people do.
Other cameras that you had, so
Yeah.
filming them, they don't have that much resolution.
So, my time could be okay. So, 15 years back.
From my experience, there is story about leopard that we not too many, but some. So there's one. It seems just by the side of the lake, the water is hiding water, and they are not very. So I then so how do I open the door in the morning? Because they normally hang these bags for milk. They opened it to collect the milk. And she found sitting on the landing. Similarly, we had a neighbor whose son was in IIT at that time. I think was still 9. So he was saying that one day he went for they have a common, there are things like this, and then there is a common toilet floor. So he's gone to had a bath and all that, comes out, and he finds so alongside this wing, there is also a lawn.
Right.
So he sees this fellow staring at him. Just runs back to the bathroom. Waits for us. By the time he comes out, nothing happens.
They also like to observe.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually curious.
On around has joined.
So, have you had any close encounters with the leopard? Not really?
So most of the animals were either caged or dinosaurs. But there was one, I'm sure we had an idea. But once we went to the shoe, we was only when we heard about it. So I think he informed us and then we immediately went back.
My wife and my son and daughter, they had gone to this, this sanctuary in Maharashtra. You have to get off at no. It's also a place where we have a lot of allocation. We had gone there. So somehow we were a big group, so we decided to split. So one group I was there with my friends, and another group with my wife, the 2 children, and another. There was actually a field biologist who was doing a placement on the wildlife history. She was there. And then there were 2 forest officials. One senior guy. So they were going along, and suddenly my son was actually at that time in the back. So he asked my wife that there's an odd thing. A young boy at that time, 5, 6 years old. I'm getting scared. There's something. We got a feeling. Of course, there are alarm bells outside. So then that forest officer, he was a senior engineer. He said, "Okay, I'll take the bag and you will come." There was one forest front and one back. And then they went ahead, nothing much. They went to a stream and they came back. And on the way back, they found a street. So a tiger was following them. Just again, curiosity. It can't go there. But this company
Hi, Raj. Can you hear me?
who is that? Really large. They put the thing in your mind.
I don't know if they respond back. No, I was just going to say hi to her. That's it.
Means the it's connected to the speaker. So
Right.
at least
That's something.
maybe
No, I don't think it's.
there is a switch on.
Yeah, I switched it on. It's now.
Yeah.
Hi there.
He said,
Or maybe I'll take
that's it. Just
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and it's a great pleasure today welcoming Vidya Athreya. It didn't look like that, at least I was meeting her first time. Maybe it's because all in the TI for family, the way she has been so unassuming. But we will see her wonderful work that is going to follow. Firstly, let me thank Professor Vivek Datar. Actually, some weeks ago, he has forwarded an article written by her in Scientific American. It was a kind of mind-blowing article in some way. And I think that is what he kind of said, that let us call her, and so rest is in front of you. Also, as I would like to thank Professor Datar for making another very, very important colloquium to happen in the asset for 40 years. And without taking more time, now let me invite him to formally introduce the speaker.
Okay, as Satya says, I have not given as many colloquium as suggested. I have suggested probably quite a few now. I should keep count of that. So actually, this article was a link to that was sent to me by my old colleague in Bandigraph in BRC, Dr. Nataraj Sharma. He now must be, I think, 95 or something, but somehow he's still quite active, and he sent me this link, and I was amazed to read this article. It's a pretty long article, but very counterintuitive conclusions. So I thought that it would be a good thing to ask you whether you would be willing to do this sort of thing. It's very nice that you agree to do that. So let me give a brief introduction to Vidya Athreya. She did her MS in Pondicherry University in 1993, MSc in University of Iowa on evolutionary biology in 2000, a PhD from Manipal University in 2012, and the title is related to this: Conflict Resolution and Leopard Conservation in Human-Dominated Landscape. So she's presently the director and head of the Science and Conservation in WCS India, and has worked on this in this area of human-leopard conflict, in particular in areas, I believe, in the SGNP, the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, and that adjoining area in Korea. She was awarded the Carl Zeiss Wildlife Conservation Award 2011, Kushu Memorial Award 2012, Maharana Uday Singh Award 2013. So we really look forward to to her talk, and as it is also very relevant to save these species and indeed protect them in some way. Although we think that they actually harm humans, but they probably do not do as much harm as we think. Please,
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, Asif, for inviting me over, and thank you, Dr. Datar and Dr. Satya, for having me here. I've come back here after nearly 30 years to this building, so it was really nice. I am a Bombay girl in that way, and so nothing has changed here, which is kind of nice, I think. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the leopards, which I think taught me a lot more than I expected. I forgot to write the credits on this picture, and this is taken by the National Geographic photographer Steve Winter. He's got some spectacular images taken with high-end cameras. He was one of the first people to do that. And this is Sanjay Gandhi National Park picture. So, I'm just going to be probably just presenting my work and asking some questions just to make you think, because that's what these angles made me also do. And, when you start out, you wonder where should wild animals be? And pretty much all of y'all will say they should be in wild areas and forests. And what should they eat? And pretty much, I think majority will say that they should be eating wild prey. Yeah. And in all of this, it's not only an ecological model, it's wildlife is affected by politics, society, culture, so many other things. And again, the biases of the different people who influence any issue also impacts similarly wildlife biology. So, urban policymakers who pretty much go for their training, to foreign countries, urban conservationists, again, high-end, going to places that are high-end destinations. Then you have the rural farmers who share their landscape with wildlife, and they have a different way of looking at it. Then you have the media. You have the managers like the forest department, people who are trying to deal with this situation. And then you have biologists. All these people come with their biases and their lens through which they see this thing. And then comes the power dynamics. Who is more powerful to impact policy among all these? And definitely the biologist is the last, which is what I've put over there. But all this impact wildlife issues, yeah. And ideas change about what is wilderness. My grandfather would have never gone to a forest to see a tiger. But now people are spilling out of vehicles trying to see tigers. And this is a lovely essay written by historian William Cronin, if you can get his, if it is there online. But you can see even, to be wilderness was to be deserted, savage, desolate, barren, a waste. But that's not how it is now. So ideas about wilderness, wildlife, about anything actually change over time. Yeah. So this is totally normal now. In fact, we all like to do it. Is it normal really? Yeah. And then what about this? This is taken, this from a CCTV camera just outside Sanjay Gandhi National Park at 2:38 in the morning. And the leopardess is hunting. And she's taken a dog. And the residents will tell you it's the sixth dog that went from this building lobby. And normally a security guard sits there and she's, within a minute, she's hunted. Is this normal? For us, it's not. But for the leopardess, it's normal. Yeah. And all these challenged my ideas as well, because as a wildlife biologist, I came with my learnings from textbooks that are largely written not from Indian studies, yeah. So it comes from other cultures, it comes from other ways of thinking. So when I started working in this cropland landscape, and this is a Google satellite image, and you can see that every acre of the land is a cropland. I'll show you where it covers, the map. So this is Sanjay Gandhi National Park. We are over here. This is the Western Ghats. And as we go here, it becomes smaller and smaller, the hill range, thinner and thinner. And, these are the protected areas. You can see these green patches. Yeah. What do you think these large green patches? It's the valley of the river Godavari. Yeah. And it's an amazing habitat for all kinds of wildlife. These are the semi-arid landscapes of the Deccan Plateau, which have wolves, which used to have the Great Indian Bustard. So, and where I worked was this valley, which is the valley of Sangam near Akole. But this entire valley has leopards in it, and wolves and hyenas and a lot of other wildlife. So this is the kind of, little children cutting sugarcane. this is the kind of landscape. There's no forest over there. The nearest forest is 40 kilometers away. And I went in here not even expecting to find leopards. And how did I reach there? So in 2001 and 2002, there were a lot of human attacks in the Valley of Junnar, where the radio telescope, GMRT radio telescope is. So there were 50 attacks on people in 2 years. And just to give you an idea, this is Junnar, and this is the Western Ghats. This is the Bhimashankar Wildlife Sanctuary. This is the Malchej. And you can see that leopards were captured. These triangles are where they were captured from. So basically, they were captured from here. Only few were captured initially, and they were released in the forested patches here, because that is the best place where there are fewer people, there's forest, and that was what everybody thought. We are doing good for people and for leopards. But after that large scale removal and release, the attacks on people skyrocketed in the same places from where they were captured. Yeah, and you can see here that the livestock increase, like leopards attacking livestock like goats and calves and stuff, had increased by 56% following this release into these areas. And you can see even attacks on people really increased, because before the translocation, 8 years between 93 and 2001, 33 leopard attacks on humans were reported. Whereas in the 3 years following the translocation, 44 were reported. So something was happening which we did not understand. And you can see here that the lethality, where an attack results in the death of a person, really increased after the translocation. So we wondered what is it, because even biologists were recommending that, there are leopards in croplands, remove them and put them in the forests. But then there was this paper published in 1997, which reviewed translocation as a method of easing conflict among various carnivores across the world. And that said that it does not help, because animals go back where they were captured from. House cat does it. Why won't a leopard do it? The other most serious issue is translocation happens in countries abroad where human densities are not like what we have. Humans don't use the landscape like we do. So you're taking out a leopard that was born in a cropland, releasing it in a forest it has never seen in its life. And the nearest thing it'll go to is a human settlement, because that is what it's used to. And I will show you later. And kids are everywhere, people are everywhere, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So we told the forest department that maybe this release, capture from areas where leopards are not doing anything, but captured simply because somebody saw them, and releasing it somewhere else is actually a bad idea. Maybe we need to stop it. So then we started working with the Maharashtra Forest Department. They were like, we didn't have any money then. This was back in 2003. So we started putting little microchips into the leopards, which you can read, and you'll get the number. So they were telling us that, okay, you're saying that releasing them somewhere else is a problem. So you put microchips in animals we've caught, and we'll release them, and you can see if the same animals have created problem. And we found that because it's not an active device, it's not a tracking device, you just have to capture that animal again, and then you read it, you have to tranquilize it, and then you have to read it. But we found instances where, for the first time in the history of that area, human attacks happened by animals that were released from elsewhere. So, we worked with the forest department, told them this is not a good idea. And then we went, and these were all the landscapes from where the leopards were being caught. And after that, I started my research work in this valley to try and understand how these leopards are living among people. And we started putting camera traps, and you can see this is barely like 100 meters from the village. And this is the valley of Akole. And again, this is almost in the village. This is where we had put camera traps. And leopards were everywhere. We were getting leopards in camera traps. One of our callers, we had put a GPS collar. I'll show you that later. She's sitting here right now while I'm taking the photograph. The women don't know, right? And that's how these animals are. And we found lots of leopards, like I didn't expect. Okay. And not just leopards, we found hyenas, we found jungle cats. This is supposed to be a really rare cat, which is found only in Sri Lanka and India and the whole world. Everybody was looking for them in the forest. It's called a rusty spotted cat. It's the smallest wild cat. And they were like, oh, it's so endangered and it's nowhere to be seen in the forest because they're all here living in the cropland. Simply because there's so much of rodents in croplands and nobody was looking for them there. And that's a problem. If you're not looking there, you'll not find. Yeah. And we got some 1800, these were old camera traps which had film rolls. I was the last of that generation. And so 36 rolls, and you go morning, evening, change it. Yeah, sorry.
So what's the camera trap?
Sorry, so I'll just go back. Yeah, you have to stop me and ask because I presume you all know things. So this is a metal box inside which there's a camera, okay, that is triggered by motion and on heat. So the moment and a warm thing passes by, let it be a motorbike or a tractor or a human being, it triggers the camera and the picture is taken. So nowadays it's digital, so you can have as many as you want, but that time it was 36 images in a roll. Yeah. So, and we had to go morning and evening to change it. So 1800 pictures of people in the evening time, same time that we kept for leopards, and some 81 pictures of leopards. Because people were really interested, they've never seen this before. And he's looking at a camera trap. So we keep it on both sides so that we get both sides of the leopard and then we can identify the individual leopard. So this camera has taken his picture as he's looking at our back end. And he was like, and this was the worst because all 36 rolls were finished one night. Okay. So we went in thinking it's kids and we were going to give them dhamki and this, that, and all. It's like, no, there are no kids in these 4 houses. So we went again the next night. And then when we developed it, which we had to send to Nashik at that time, we found that all these kakas and kakus enjoyed themselves. No, but that's also the beauty of it, like working in rural India. Like, I always say I'm a Bombay girl. I've lived in urban India all my life. This was 75, no, this was more, 125 kilometers from Pune. But the life, like we know more about the West than we know about our rural people and our rural landscape. And I think working in rural areas was just so life-changing for me because it's just incredible how those societies, our people are, and I really enjoyed it. So to estimate density of leopards, you need to identify them, and we do that by putting 2 camera traps, and then we actually find out from their rosettes, like we can match these spots to another leopard and figure out the identity of the leopard. So there were many leopards like this. So there were cubs, and this is a lot of falls, so it's mother and cubs. And mother and cubs implies it's a resident population. No mother and cub is going to go wandering with her little ones. Yeah. So just to let you know, it was about a 200 square kilometer area, and all these stars are the camera traps where we put on both sides of the paths. They were using the same paths as humans. And this is what we found: 5 adult leopards in 100 square kilometers, 5 adult hyenas. Very rare instances of attacks on human beings and hardly any deaths. Okay, I think in the last, maybe since 2012, I stopped working there had been no human death. I think there's been one after that, despite such a high density of carnivores and frequent interaction between people and leopards. Very interesting is that most of the calves, goats that were killed, that die there in that landscape, die due to other reasons like diseases and drowning sometimes. And leopards actually kill a very small fraction of the livestock. But often we as biologists, we only go and ask them about what does leopard kill, and I think the farmers see a much bigger picture. For them, a leopard or a wolf killing one of their livestock is no big deal because 15 have died due to disease. Yeah. And Sorry?
Is there any reason why it looks like the leopards prefer to attack dogs?
Yeah, I will show the particular. And again, that brings us, like as biologists, I think sometimes we're really narrow-minded. We only want to help if a leopard has killed your livestock, we are here to help you. But if diseases have killed a lot more, okay, we are not interested. Okay, I mean, is that the right thing to do or not? So we also from leopard scat, the feces of leopards, which you can see here, the sugarcane on both sides, it's made a scrape mark, which is what cats do, and then it's defecated there. In fact, National Center for Biological Sciences, they analyzed the DNA and told us which, because dogs, cats also look very similar. So we sent it to Dr. Uma Ramakrishnan's lab, and they've told us which is leopard, which has leopard DNA, and then we did a scat analysis of it. And what do they eat? So nearly 75% of their diet is domestic animals and mostly dog. And what we found is that the livestock are actually protected to a very large extent. They put them in livestock enclosures, whereas dogs are much more available. The density of dogs is also, in fact, density of goats is much higher than dogs, but it's more protected than dogs. Is what we found. So it's basically availability and the size for the medium-sized animals, right? And this is the kind of places, like this farmer is standing, his goat was tied to this tree and the leopard killed it. So this is from our collar data, where we put collars, I'll show you later, but just wanted to tell you this, that this is 3 animals whose collars we had. Their names are Lakshya, Jai and Charlotte. And this is time of the day, from midnight to midnight. And this is when humans are most active. And this is a proportion of locations less than 25 meters from residential houses. And you can see they go really close to human houses in the night. And they don't in the day when humans are there. So yeah, the density of goats is 7 times that of domestic dogs in the landscape. Yet, dogs constituted nearly 40% and 11% of the prey 11% was goats. I'm sorry, I forgot to add an image over there. So this is what we say when we are talking. In fact, Nikit, who works here in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, we just finished in the last 2 years putting satellite collars on 5 leopards in Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So this is very old. This is 2008 when we put, this collar, which gives us the location and the time that animal is there via SMS. So it's a GPS GSM collar. It has a GPS chip which takes the location and it sends an SMS of the date and time where it is. So this was Azoba, the leopard who walked from Malshesh Ghat to Bombay, 125 kilometers in 25 days. There was a Marathi movie made on him. So what we found is animals that were left far away from where they were captured, away from their home. Even they have homes, they are very, very territorial. They had much larger areas that they covered, like 89 kilometers, 45 kilometers. And even when they settled, it was much larger, but the animals were they largely move in the night and they just sit in the day. And even in the night, it's not much. They move like 400 meters on an average because these areas are so dense with dogs, pigs, So they go to the nearest market area and they're hanging out there in the night. And market area because that's where the butcher shops are and they throw the waste over there and, there's all kinds of. So, yeah. This is Azobas. So these are the animals we caught here and released here and they lived here for a year. Azoba fell in a well here. He was released here because normally what they do is that they catch them and then they put them on the other side of the administrative border, hoping it's somebody else's problem. So this is where there are 3 administrative borders, Nagar, Pune and Thane. So it's very common to leave animals here in the past. And so this animal walked 125 kilometers, crossed Kasara railway station, crossed Agra highway, crossed 2 protected areas, and went and stayed in Sanjay Gandhi National Park for 2 years, where he died later, hit by a vehicle. So you can see his dead points, and that is Bombay, South Bombay. This is Vasai Industrial Estate. One day he was in Vasai Industrial Estate. Yeah, these are all his points on the hill. And he swam across the creek, went into main Sanjay Gandhi National Park and swam back. And this was the width of the creek.
Do leopards swim or?
Yeah, so everything swims, I hear, like pigs swim, deer swim, and like a mountain lion in America has swam like 1.5 kilometers. So, I mean, they weigh as much as I do. If I can swim, I'm sure, these animals can also swim. So it's quite incredible. And I think sometimes we should view them in a way that we view ourselves. Like, people walked from South India to the Himalayas at some point. Okay, these animals can also do that. They have to do it. Yeah. So this occurrence is very, very common where I work. Nearly once every 3 weeks in that entire Nashik, Kolhapur, where all these, sugarcane cropland belts is, they have these percolation wells where the water is held, there's no wall, and animals and people fall into it.
नंतर ठेव आता कॉपी करून ठेव फोटो नाही दिसू दे नंतर बघू
Cropland around this whole forest. I already have a question about it. Does the leopard realize we've saved his life? And if so, what is the implication? Are they the usual bloodthirsty creatures with fangs and claws, or do they have something more complex that we are not aware about? Yeah. And after all this work, I realize that India is really special. I think it's a unique country on this planet right now. We are 1 billion people. We have so much of wildlife, more than 50%, the world's largest tiger population, the world's largest Asiatic elephant population, the only Asiatic lion population, bison, gaur, crocodiles, name what. You will not find it in any other country with densities of people like we have. And it's historic. There was a time when the princely people and the British came and they were paying us, there was bounty killing, like the British would pay us money for each tail of the wolf and tiger and all that we took to them. But if you look at the Scandinavian countries, they have 80% forest cover. We have meanwhile 5%. They have 10 people per square kilometer densities. We have average is 400. Okay, they lost all their 4 large carnivores like 100 years back. Okay, so with very low density of people, very high development, it is in our power to exterminate anything we want to exterminate. Okay. And there's a problem because there the people have forgotten to live with the wildlife. So when wildlife starts coming back, that relationship is gone. And then there's only fear. And culturally, I find that we give a lot more space for these animals, at least in our heads and in our hearts. I mean, for me, this image, I'm not getting into religion here, I'm getting into imagery. It's of a little kid looking at a lion, with serpents at the back. Like, can you put this in a Western context and say, like, who is the benefactor here? Okay, and it's perplexing. You have Magoba, I'll show you some more. And this, like, even in Ethiopia, they believe them to be, if I know right, associated with the churches, so they feed them. And these are dangerous carnivores. Okay. And then we find, like, I as a biologist know more about Project Tiger, which started in 1973. I have no idea about the institutions that have been around for 800 years at least. So there is across India, not just here, I'm just showing you large cat because it's relevant to my talk, but so many other animals. There is cultural inclusion of these animals in our mind space. Yeah, so this is still worshipped today. These are large cat deities which represent tigers and leopards. And these are relationships that people have in their minds. Traditions and myths which are still believed today. I mean, when I went cycling down Ratnagiri and I was just like turned the corner and there was like this huge temple, Vagoba Mandir. So it's a temple for the Vagoba, the large cat. And then we stopped and I went in and I saw these hands and feet and I'm like, oh my God, maybe these are the people that the tigers killed. But then when we asked the locals if they have any hand pain or leg pain, they make these and they keep them there so that their pain goes away. Now look at how the biologists looked at it. Okay. So, I mean, this is important. So recently a student did a survey in Dahanu, which is north of here, and she found 150 or so Vagoba shrines in each village over there, which people still worship and revere. So is it only the prism of conflict that we see these animals? It's very different. Like if you go to, like even the word predator is a problem because it already makes a judgment about the animal. So when we went to Himachal Pradesh and we asked the people about the leopards that live around them, they use the word mrig, which is just wild animal, very neutral. But then when we come and showing them movies about predators and the fangs and the claws, you're completely changing like the narrative. So it's important, I think, for us, and now a lot of us are getting interested in it because it's going to go soon. And you'll see that a lot of Vagoba shrines, even in Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Yeah. And we did that in our project, which I will not talk about today, but in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, we worked a lot with the media and with local people and the citizens. We found that what the greater understanding that the Wadli people have about these animals, if you share it with the people who live in the buildings, who are really scared of the leopard, it helps because they realize not everything is about fear, So we often, we say we have to shift the focus because for any conflict mitigation, like we did translocation, it was just about dealing with the animal and it doesn't work. Things become better. There's more peace when you're dealing with people whom you can communicate with. You can't tell the leopard, hey, you just stay in the forest, you can't go outside. But you can definitely talk to the people about protecting their livestock, about having safer practices when living with these animals. So human-wildlife interactions are complex. It involves not only animal biology, but everything that goes with human beings. And I think humans are the crux of any conflict mitigation. Animals do not understand our boundaries. Like even people don't understand our boundaries. Okay, where are animals going to understand it? And proactive measures are important because now we are only reacting, but it's so important that we plan and do things beforehand when there's no problem. And, help other people live more peacefully with the wildlife they have instead of just focusing on the animal. Yeah, so this is like we work with the police, the media, with a lot of stakeholders when we did our Bombay work. Maybe that can be another time. So that's it. Thank you.
We can have more interactions. We did well before that. So any questions or comments? Yeah.
You said that you were.
Just hold on, there is a mic. Hey.
Yeah, you said that you recognize the leopards, whether they are the same or the different with the countries. So is it always true that the leopards have, it's like a fingerprints?
I think the side flanks, yes, it is like even for tigers, we use the same thing. So I think the side flanks, yes, but not for other smaller areas. We wouldn't use those portions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay.
I think wait for the mic, because otherwise people have zoomed on here.
Yeah.
I thought that was sort of not clear, and particularly in tiger counting and things like that, by trying to identify them by their markings was sort of, it was not clear whether that was unique or not, and that there was controversy about whether the tiger count was right, etc. So I was just wondering if you could amplify a little bit more on that thing that it is like.
Yes, so as far as I know, the earlier technique before using camera traps, which was using pug marks, like using the mark they leave. Earlier, we would use those marks to identify individuals, and it was proven to show that it doesn't work. But this was then the process that is used, and it's used even today, like the All India Tiger Estimation uses this process. So there was a lot of controversy while shifting from that to this and the other. Yeah.
Thank you for the, so my question is, not going to be leopards, but to the cheetahs. So with that, so what are your thoughts on this location from African cheetahs into India?
So I don't think I'm going to give my opinion here. But I think what I would like to say is I don't think any other country on this planet which has 4 large cats as it is has decided to go get yet another large cat. So I think that's quite amazing because no other country, I mean, one brown bear walks into Germany, I think, from somewhere else, and there's huge public protest and it is shot. Okay, one brown bear. So I think there's something to talk about the way we look at wildlife and the way we have space in our hearts for other animals. I don't know if it's going to be there for too long, but it's kind of interesting that it's there now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is this point about the Western societies, getting rid of all the wildlife. The Indian societies have been so. What did it find? Why is first of all why the Indian societies, the traditional ones, have lived in some equilibrium with this surroundings?
Yeah.
And what is it that makes the West so?
No, that's I don't have an answer to that, but what I would say is not just Indian, it looks like a lot of indigenous societies, like even in the US, for instance, the Native Americans revere the wolf. But you look at the way the whites look at the wolf, like the white society looks at the wolf, it's totally different. And you can see it's all about brotherhood, reverence, and the wolf is held in very high esteem by the Native Americans. But the colonials came and just wiped them out. And it's not just that, it's just like this hatred for the wolves. And it's more, I think it's less in the urban areas now because of conservation movement. But it's a complex question. I don't think I can answer it.
I mean, it's also paradoxical. For example, they use them for marketing. National Geographic transfer with beautiful pictures of wildlife, shot at great effort. And it gives an impression that they are actually trying to preserve or protect. But from what you said, it's like they're just exterminated most of this.
Yeah, but they put in a lot of money to preserve and protect elsewhere.
After they have exterminated.
So I think a lot of it is political as well. Like for instance, I know in Scandinavia, it is about, the conflict is about rural people angry that the urban people are making policies about what should live in their space. So in India, I find it very different because the rural people seem to be much more accepting and have a history of living with these animals, whereas urban people, I think, are more removed. But yeah, it's complex. I will not be able to answer it at all.
If I can interrupt, although I needed my also. Yeah. Yeah, I have a comment and question. One comment about this human animal relationship. For instance, Gir, you have these Bharwads going around with their cattle. And they're perfectly at peace.
Yeah.
Once in a way, some buffalo gets killed by a lion, but they're okay with that. They don't say that was a bad thing. And There's a comment. The question is regarding the translocation of Gir lions to other parts. Because the argument was made that maybe if there's some disease which comes up, then the whole Gir population will be wiped out, and then what the Asiatic lion is gone. What is your comment on that?
So that's definitely true. I think they started out as 12 lions, which became 200, 300, 400. I think they're 500 now, right? More than that. How much are they now? Yeah, so around 550. But the beauty of it is half of them live outside Gir among the people's croplands. Yeah.
They've been shown walking on the coast and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think again it's political because earlier it was political, I think, but whatever it is, I think now the lions are just going to walk into the other states. By
Leave them to
themselves.
do what they want.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes,
I have a farm in Rahuri. Very
Yeah,
close
yeah.
to- Okay.
Yeah.
4 years back, there was one leopard in my sugar cane.
Right.
Now it is a male female with 2-3 cubs. Okay, and now our farm is threatened. Okay, but is it that will be a habitat of these leopards?
So since 2010, I've been going to Rahuri to microchip leopards and have been caught over there. So they've always been there. Maybe my guess is these people. So they have a very large area, like 8 square kilometers, the smallest range, which is quite a lot. Yeah. So they will not live only in your farm. They will move. Sometimes they'll come and use.
Yeah, when the sugar cane is cut
Yeah.
and then land is with a lower crops, then they are invisible.
Right.
Again, when the crop is more than 8 and 10 feet, again they are visible. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are moving around only. But even there, 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers, 12 kilometers. So this sugarcane farm or such a crop is that will be their habitat.
Yes, it is. It is their habitat. Yeah.
Yeah. And second thing, as you explained to the villagers, our foresters came, they kept cage and they kept goat in that. And that goat is not eaten by the leopard, but by villagers.
Okay, after the leading.
Thanks for the compliment. So I think you also mentioned something about the media portrayal of leopards, right? So I think about a decade back, there was a study by someone on media articles. So in the last decade, have you seen a change in the way it's been portrayed and how does that actually affect public perception?
So media is a super important driver of change of public perception. And we actually worked extensively with the Bombay Press Club and the Mumbai Patrakar Sangh in 2011, 12, 13. And there's a paper after that where we have done a comparison of headlines before the workshops and after. And despite much lesser lack of conflict, there's much increased reporting, which is more neutral and positive and more helping the public deal with the situation. Earlier, it was largely sensational. So media is a super important ally for changing perception about anything.
Yeah, question.
So this cohabitation of animals and humans, one thing I was very curious about. So you were talking about how humans are more accepting to the animals. How about the animals? They are also choosing to live there. So are they living close? So of course, by living close to the villages, they are taking an interest because they may be killed. So are they choosing to be near the human areas because the forests do not have enough food or enough space? Or
So the thing is, if our forest area is just 5% of our land area. If all animals were to be restricted inside those 5%, they would be inbreeding and they would die. So adapt, it's just like us humans, like which is our natural habitat. I don't think any of us can answer that, right? We go where we want and we adapt to every landscape. So it works with the leopards really well because they are highly adaptable. So for them, they will have babies and they will have families and they will just do what they are on earth to do and they don't have a choice because in India there's no space. There's no space inside protected areas, there's no space outside, you just have to adapt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Yeah.
No, this is one.
Also mentioned hyenas, for example, which are also something which cause livestock and also creation. Has there been work on not just hyenas, but these kinds of predatory animals which are smaller, but they, maybe people don't really care about them because leopard is a big thing, but all these small animals that people don't care about, which also cause similar kind of danger to
So there are definitely studies on wolves in the about the ghats in like Saqqara and all that. There's a you can find a lot of information about wolves there. There's also the wild dog, the dhole, on which there's a lot of studies. And Nikit now is working with the forest department here to study the jackals in the mangroves of Bombay. And there are a lot of jackals in the mangroves of Bombay. So yeah, there are studies on other species.
You see, the forest areas is 5%. That is exploration, it is not. And has it gone down? How rapidly has it gone over the last 50 years? To get an idea.
That I don't know. Over 50 years, I don't think it would have. I really can't
We have
say.
huge forests in, we have parks, we have mountains, we have also high areas. We have concentrated
Yes, I'm talking about protected areas like wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, only those. Yeah, I'm not, there are people's forests I'm not talking about this.
So what if we add our percentages?
I don't know how much, Nikit, any idea how much it will be if we add all of those?
15-20. Maybe we require a mic.
Yeah, 15-20%.
If we add up all of these territorial,
People's forests also?
all of these territorial forests, community forests, the figures will go higher, 15-20%. There are some states which have maximum, high amount of forest, like northeastern states.
Yeah, and
what we are referring to is protected areas, which is national parks, sanctuaries, corporate, Tadoba, Tunga.
Okay.
I think Himachal and Uttarakhand have like 60% each.
Arunachal probably has the highest, or at least one of the highest, from 70-80%. Okay, any more questions? No, or there is one.
There were some thoughts of connecting the forests, reserve forests. Is it at all possible? Has there been any projects in the plan?
So it's very difficult because, connectivity is super important. But on the other flip side of it, like these animals, it just to make a forest, it's not going to use it. For them, see, rural India pretty much sleeps in the night. So from a wildlife perspective, it is wild areas because there are no people. So it doesn't matter if it's an agri, and there's a lot of food. So again, I think connectivity, and even we biologists used to do that, thinking, we make a forest and the animals will use it. But evidence is showing that they don't need a stand, they need safe places to use to go. Yeah. So connectivity is super important. How we achieve that, I think, is really complicated.
I had a question myself on this issue. What is the situation with the tiger? Is it as adaptable as the leopard, or isn't it so?
So I think it is. It's just that because now if you go to Brahmapuri, Chandrapur and all that, there are tigers living in human use areas. And we had collared a tigress in 2011. She was completely living in outside the forest, and there are little patches of forest there. So she would sit there in the day, and the pigs, the nilgai, all of them will be in the night outside. So I think we don't understand about the plasticity and adaptability of these animals yet, because we've only been studying them inside. We really don't know what they do outside.
And another small comment again on the human animal relationship. We had been to Taduva recently, and there is a small temple very close to the entrance. And so the priest was coming down, and he said, "Oh, I have seen as many as 3 tigers just sitting around, and I walk past them. There's no problem."
Yeah.
And I mean, apparently the driver and the other forest guys didn't contradict it, so it must be correct. And so there is, I think, an intimate relationship between the tigers which are in that area with the people in that area. So if you disturb that, you bring in some new fellow, maybe he might be attacked.
No, even leopards in Javai, Vera. So there are 2 places in India. If you want to see leopards, you should go to. Both of them are in Rajasthan. One is Javai or Vera near Pali, and the other is Jaipur. Actually, there's Jalana where you can go on a safari and see the leopards. So in Javai, they live on these rocky outcrops, which are called orans because they are sacred. They have a temple there. And the priest there used to say that a leopardess used to den over there. And once her cub was outside, she was sitting there. He picked up the cub and put it back in the den, and she didn't do anything. So, I don't know.
Yeah, this is a well-known place.
Yeah.
Place
Yeah.
near Udaipur, I think some 40
Right.
Okay. There's one last one. Well, we have time.
There comes from it.
I would like to speak more about 2-3 things. He was very shocked about the 5% forested area. But people think that animals live only in the forest. But apart from forest, there are different habitats like grassland, shrubland, and mangroves. These are important areas where animals live and animals adapt to these areas. Second thing, the impact of development on the wildlife. Like if we consider the National Park only, the RA conflict, you proposed Bodri Thane corridor underpass, and the traffic on Ghodbunder Road. What is the effect on that? And the third thing about the awareness program, like you said, more laborers are living in the village areas and in the fields. There is no role of forest department. Then and we need to adapt each other. Like we need to live with the animals will need to live with us. Then how we can spread awareness between the villagers in such cases?
It's a good question.
You have the mic.
So Ghodbunder Road, actually, Nikit just put a GPS collar on a leopard, and he was constantly crossing the Ghodbunder Road, and we found out where it is. And this is what the forest department also wanted us to find out, like choose that animal. So, I think if we do such studies, we can find out which areas they're using to cross, and that helps management and actually and policy to make underpasses or overbridges in those areas. So that could be one way of doing it. So it was much easier to change mindsets about leopards in Bombay, but it's very hard to do it in the rural landscape. There is forest department presence. There's a very strong forest department presence, but it's such a wide area, and many officers have tried. And I think there has to be like a much greater political will because it's engaging with so many people, so many stakeholders. So it's more complex in rural areas than it was in the small island of Bombay. So, yeah.
Good. So if there are no more questions, let us thank the speaker.
Thank you all.
And a small memento on behalf of the asset collective.
So please join for a cup of coffee. So it's the Really enjoyed the way. So, not that I get into the it was very nice the way. One could see the kind of pattern.
I forgot to tell you, so that marks 40 years, so.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah. So it's this year.
40 years of
40 years of the forum.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk, it's quite wide.
Range, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But an advantage of this particular forum is that you can afford to kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Anything that people might be interested in.
One on Wednesday, which is for natural science. The one on Thursday is for mathematics. So all that everything will come under. You can see.
Science, engineering, and technology, but also it includes social engineering,
Medical.
all kinds of topics.
Actually,
I really enjoyed that video you had of the leopard. Deciding you didn't want to learn the cage.
The cage door.
Yes, yeah.
Looking at some of the collection that I had of the pictures, and I thought that
You had an annual day where students put up their. So he managed to, tell the organization, you please take that to me. And then they're going to go.
pictures are beautiful pictures, right?
So.
Some of them have students' names at the back. I think it's even it looks artistic. No, this is.
Not yeah.
Some of them may be from somewhere.
By the way, no, actually something should be introduced. Samir, so he is, I don't know how to, maybe he should be the one who should introduce himself. But we really enjoy his passion for wildlife and very knowledgeable on that field. I have been after him to make him give an asset colloquium for many years, and but he has not given. I hope I'll still do it before I retire.
Ma'am, you remember there was one project in Sanjay Gandhi National Park for leopard cat collection.
Yeah.
He has,